Right in here. Let me shrink some of this stuff so I can see my own screen. All right. So today we're going to talk about the Cireson survey app, and then we'll do primarily this will be a walkthrough. So we'll walk through how it works, some of the various functionality, and then we'll talk through some of the more advanced functionality, and then a little bit of a talk on what's coming and things we're shooting for in the next release. So my name is Seth Cousins. Obviously, I'm your presenter today. Information is there on the screen. I actually developed the survey app, so if you do have any questions, feel free to send them to me. Otherwise, we'll talk about the survey forum and future requests in the community here at the end. So today's agenda is going to be the same as the project connector. We'll talk about the inspiration, do a walkthrough and demo, and then briefly discuss the last two topics. So solution inspiration. The inspiration behind the survey app actually comes from one of our own customers. It was a prospective customer, really. They were asking if we, on the services side of Cireson, could implement a survey within Service Manager specifically for them. And there was a lot of criteria around that and some particular questions. And really, it was kind of up in the air whether we could do it within best practice. So with that challenge having been issued, we took it on ourselves to find a solution, develop that solution, and then turn it into a product. So that's where the survey app came from, the original idea, and then we've since completely rebuilt it, and that's what you see today in terms of the released survey app. So we'll go ahead and hop into the demo environment here. So this is my demo lab. So it's a little sparse, but that's all right for what we're going to be looking at today. So the purpose of the survey app is to sit within the Cireson portal. It's to provide analysts with a way of creating survey templates which define the questions that will be asked, and then for users to actually come in here and complete those surveys and even select from a list of templates and complete the survey on demand if they desire. So let's look at the base functionality first, then we'll talk through a little bit how it works and how you can do some more advanced functionality. So it consists of three components. So the survey app consists of a dashboard, a templates page, and then a My Surveys page. So the dashboard page is going to be just a base page that shows some metrics that we've defined. It's specific to the survey app, which is why we've separated out of the other Cireson dashboards. Though the way it works, we could integrate those in the future, or you could integrate your own metrics in if you desired. So then we have the templates page, which is going to control the creation, deletion, and viewing of templates. And then the My Surveys, which is going to be focused on the end user, where it shows surveys that are assigned to them that have not been completed. They can view past completed surveys, and they can even view a selection of templates to take a survey. So let's look at the dashboard first. So the dashboard for the survey app, as it exists in version 1 here, is it shows the number of templates you have, total templates. It shows the number of enabled templates and the number of disabled templates that you currently have in your environment. It also shows the number of results. We call them survey results, but in general terms, it's a survey that a customer would take or has taken. In this case, you can see that all of the surveys have been completed, and we have a total of 6 surveys, and none are incomplete. From here, you can actually click on the various graphs to take you to those sections. So we'll go ahead and look at the surveys section first. So I'll click on the survey graph. This takes me to the My Surveys page. The My Surveys page, like I said, is geared towards the end user. From here, you can get a selection of templates that are available to the user, and the user can then select one of those and take that survey if they wanted to. So from here we have our actual survey page, and you can see we have the title at the top. We have a brief indicator as to what template version we're actually taking this survey for, and then we have our questions, of which we have a number of various question types, and we'll go through those when we look at our templates here in a little bit. So for instance, we have, how do you feel about the performance of your analyst today? And I'm going to, this is a satisfaction slider. You can see a little smiley face here, or lack thereof. I'm going to go ahead and convert that, and I'm pretty happy, but not totally happy. If I was totally happy, I would have a nice green smiley there. As you split through, it separates it down, gives you a nice visual indicator of the performance. And then, was the incident resolved to your satisfaction? This is a true/false, so yes or no. So I'm going to go ahead and say sure. And what was your incident related to? So then we have a list of options available to us that's defined within the template. Say this one was software. If you had to rate your analyst on a scale of 1 to 5, so we have our general slider here where we can rate our analyst on a scale of 1 to 5. And then any other comments. So this is a basic text box, and I'm just going to say no other comments today. From here, I can cancel, which will close this out completely and not save anything back to the system, or I can submit, and it will then create a survey result for me inside Service Manager. And now I, as the end user, do not have any incomplete surveys. I can go ahead and click on Show Completed here, and it'll pop up and it'll show all the surveys that my user has completed. You can see that there is a number of them for this particular user. The user has no ability to view the results at this point in time of a past survey, but they can see information like the number of questions, that it's been completed, when it was completed, and when it was assigned to them. That's pretty much it for the My Surveys page. Like I said, it's geared towards the end user. For an analyst, though, we can go ahead and go over here to our navigation and go to a template section. So this is the template section. This is where a lot of the work is actually done, and most of it on the analyst side of things. So from here, you can create a new template, which we'll demonstrate in a minute. We can also show disabled templates. So these are templates that I have currently disabled. Looking at my active templates, I can delete the template from here. I can edit the template, which is really editing the questions. I can view a report for this particular template, and I can also view specific information about the template, so more detailed information. And that applies to all the templates. You can also see the last modified date of the template at the top. So let's look at the template we just took. So Service Desk, how are we doing? So if I want to edit this, I can go ahead and edit it, and then it'll bring up the template itself. Here you see the title of the survey. So this is the template title, but will also be the survey title. You can enable or disable the template from here. You can add questions using the Add button on the left, and then you can remove any question you've added using the Remove button on the right. You can also reorder the questions by simply using the up and down arrows here. As you can see, it moves this question up and down in relation to how it starts. So for each question, you have the question itself. So this is going to be the text of the question, what it is you're actually asking. Then you have the type. So here's our various question types as of today. We have text, which is a simple text field. We have a text area, which is going to be a full multi-line text field. We have list, which is a comma-delimited list that you can enter here, which we'll show in just a second, and that becomes a drop-down list for the end user. Boolean, just a checkbox. Slider, which is going to be your 1 to 5 slider, and satisfaction, which is going to be your satisfaction-based slider, which is going to have the smiley face on it. And you can also change those images, so that we'll talk about that in terms of a more advanced topic. You can change the actual image that we're using just by changing the image in the folder. So we'll show you that later. So looking at our list of questions here, we have satisfaction, we have a Boolean, we have a list. So let's talk about the list for a second, because this one has additional configuration options. So it has the question, it has the type, and once you select list type, if I was to select text type, you can see that this grays out here on the right. If I was to select list type, it now becomes active, and I can edit this. And this is a comma-delimited list, so I have currently hardware, software, and services. I can add in a comma, and then I could say other. And now, when I save this, other will become an option within the drop-down list for the end user. This brings me to another point. So one of the things with a survey is that it needs to in some way be quantifiable for it to be useful. And a lot of things like textual questions are not necessarily quantifiable. There's no real way to graph a text option because so many different things can be input, and there's not a a real easy or clean way to extrapolate that into something usable or graphable. So because of that, if you change any of the question information, the previous templates in most cases would now be invalid, and the previous results would be invalid in terms of graphing because the information that's available is different, and so the information that was entered in the past is not as relevant as it would be otherwise. So what we do is we increment the template version whenever a question is edited, modified, added, or removed. And that way we get a new set of graphs using the most recent template, so it's always standardized and valid graph data. So that's something to be aware of. If you have a lot of templates out, if you have a lot of questions out there and you want to keep that past graph data, you probably don't want to edit your questions, maybe create a new one. In the future, we'll actually add the ability to go back and look at the past graphs as well. So that being said, I'm not actually going to edit this today. I'm going to cancel out of the edit so that we can look at the graphing of this particular one. So you can see that we have 23 responses. This is version 3, and there's 5 questions here. So I'm going to look at the detailed information first. So looking at the detailed information, I get the version information, I get whether it's enabled, I get the number of questions, total surveys or results that have been taken, completed surveys, how many are actually, how many have been issued versus how many have actually been completed, and then the number that are currently open. I also get a quick list of the questions that are in there, and then I can see recent results, so this is the last 20, and then I'll have all the other results here on the right and previous results, anything over 20. Each of these shows a version number, so you can see the number of results that are actually relevant to the current version. So I'm on version 3, so all of these results are version 3 results, so they're going to be relevant and within my graphed information. If I wanted to view the details of one of those, I can go ahead and click on it, and it pops up and shows me the details of that particular survey, shows me the user that submitted it, so you can see the related user information here. You can also see the answers to their questions in an uneditable format, and then we can go back. If there's a work item that's been related to the survey, or the survey has been linked to a work item through a method I'll show you in a little bit, it will actually show there as well. So we'll see if we can find one of those in a minute here. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my templates here. And now from here, I want to look at the graphs or the report for this particular survey template. So clicking on that, I get my template graphs. You can see that we had 5 questions, but one of them was a text question, so it didn't get graphed. So we didn't graph the text question, but we did graph the other question types. So we have, how do you feel about the performance of your analyst? So over all of our results, you can see we have 6 that gave it a 5, we have 4 that gave it a 4, 3, 2, and 1. So basically, you see the different graphs for each type. So down in the bottom right-hand corner of the graph, you can actually see what kind of survey, what kind of question it was. So this was a satisfaction question. You can see we use a smiley face as an indicator, and if you hover over it, it gives you detailed information. This is a Boolean, this one is a list, and then this one here is a slider. So it gives you all that information. From here, you can actually click View Template, and it'll take you straight to the template, so you can edit it or do what you need to. If you look underneath the name here, it gives the report for, gives the name of the question of the template we viewed, and then it also gives the number of results that were calculated. So there's 19 results calculated, and it gives us the last calculation date. So you can see that the last calculation date was today at 10:30 a.m. Now I can go back. We'll hop back in here. And we have a few other ones that we can take a look at. We have a report here, same thing. Okay. So sometimes when you create a new survey or change the version, you'll go in and you won't see any survey results. And the reason for, you won't see any graph data, and the reason for that is simply because it hasn't been updated yet, because it's a workflow in the background that goes in and calculates all the different results from within Service Manager and then creates the graphs for you. That way you're not trying to do it through the web, which would be a very performance intensive and not fun experience. So now let's look at creating a template. So from here we can go ahead and click New Template, and I can go ahead and enter the title, Webinar Today. Template is enabled. We're going to add a question. And we'll make this one a list type. Actually, satisfaction's good. And we'll add another one. And we'll say, and then we'll make this one a list. And we'll say survey app or project connector. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and save. So now we have our new template down here. How was the webinar today? You can see that there's 2 questions, 0 responses, and we're currently on version 1. If I click on the report, you can see that there are no results yet. In an upcoming hotfix, this is going to go away, and it'll just say 0 results. Right now, it's a spinning thing because no results ever come in, and it's waiting for that to happen. So looking at that, we can also look at the information on it. We can see the version, whether it's enabled, the questions, same stuff as before, the 2 questions. We can see that there's no results again. So if I was an end user now, I can go in here and I can see my how was the webinar today, and I can go ahead and take that survey, and then I put in that it was great and I came to see the project connector. Go ahead and submit that, and done. Now I can do the same thing. In this particular case, you can take a survey more than once, be configurable in the future, and I came to see the survey app. And one more time just to mix it up, and we're going to put this one low, but we'll say still came to see the survey. Alright, so now we have 3 total results for this particular template type. Now if I go back as an analyst and look at my templates, I can see that I have 3 responses. If I go to detailed information, I can see I have 3 version 1 responses here. I can go ahead and view those responses. I can see who did them and the information that was given. If I go back to my templates and look at the reports, you can see the report's actually already been calculated by the workflow in the background. I have 3 results that were calculated today at 10:47. And here's the results. So how satisfied were you with today's webinar? So 2 people gave it a 4 and 1 person gave it a 2. And then 2 people came to see the survey app and 1 person came to see the project connector. So that gives you a quick look at the results of the survey. So we're almost done here and almost out of time, but I'm going to talk about a few things real quick. So one of the big things is being able to link a survey to a work item. In order to do that, you have to actually include the survey, the work item GUID inside the URL. So we're going to go ahead and look at taking a survey. If I was going to take a survey as a user, or I wanted to send a user to a survey, let's look at our webinar one here. So I'm going to take it. This URL is not unique to the user. It's actually a URL that can be used for by anybody for anything through any sort of medium as long as it has access to the Cireson portal. So I can send this in an email. I can have it automatically sent out when an incident is resolved. I can have it included just as a link at the bottom. And then they would click that link to take the survey, and it would take them straight to this page. Looks just like this. They logged in with their user credentials as an end user, and so it knows that, it keeps track of that, it will automatically add that to the template. Well, what you can also do is if you want to link it to that work item, when you're setting up that notification template in Service Manager, you can actually add a work item ID field parameter to this. equals, and then I can put in a work item ID. So let's give an example of that really quick. I'm going to look at one of my existing work items here. So again, we are testing the query. So let's look at that. Now, we have a blog, we have a KB on this, and we also have it in the advanced configuration guide, ways that you can set up that notification template and get this information. I'm just using some dev tools here to pull the GUID really quick. So this gives me the work item GUID. So now I can go back here, add this to that. All right. So the one trick, though, is you can't add it the way I just did. You have to actually go to that URL in the first place. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter so that it refreshes the page. There we go. So now it takes me to the survey, and what it does is it stores that work item GUID in the background, except that I forgot the equals. All right. So it stores that in the background, and now so if I was to send a user to this link, they would go to this link, it'll all be stored in the background for the template. Now when I take this, I'm going to give it a 5, and I'm going to submit. Now when I take this, it's going to store that information in the background, and it's going to link the work item up. So now what we can do as an analyst, we can look at the templates. We can look at our responses. I'm going to go ahead and go into the information here. You can actually see that we have one version here, template here, and this particular survey has a work item attached. So we indicate that with a simple work item indicator there. And this is only in the hotfix. We added this in the hotfix, so this will be coming within the next week. But it adds that work item, so I know that this particular survey is linked to a work item. If I click it, it brings up the information on the survey itself, and you'll notice there's an additional box here at the top now that shows the related information. So it's related to IR 170. It gives some information about that, the impact, the urgency, and then the status. And I can go ahead and click it, and it'll actually take me to the portal page for IR 170. So as an analyst, I can now come in and view this, and I can see who it was, the affected user was, see if they're the same, and all the analyst comments that were added, all the information straight from the survey. So if you get a bad result in one of your surveys, or something you didn't expect, or you're just spot checking, it gives you the IR that that's related to, and you can immediately hop in there and take a look at it. So that's pretty much it for today. Of course, we have information in the installation guide, the administration guide, and the advanced configuration guide. We'll have more information coming when the hotfix comes out next week. We're fixing some IE11 issues in terms of presentation, and then we're also adding a few small little features like version information. We show the version of the survey app here at the top, so this is actually 5.11. And then we'll continue to increment that as we update the versions with hotfixes and such. So real quick, I'll show you if everything gets stored for best practice reasons. Everything gets stored inside the Cireson portal directory, inside the custom space, just like any sort of customizations we recommend. And then it gets stored in a survey app folder. So you can actually go into this folder and into the images folder, and this is all the satisfaction images. So you can actually replace these with your own satisfaction image, and it will show up inside the page there. Just pay attention to sizing and things like that, and then when you use that satisfaction slider, your own images will show there. So that's a quick way that you can customize it. You can actually customize the CSS just by editing your custom CSS here and applying any custom styles to the survey app sections. In almost every case, it's all going to be underneath the survey app class, so it makes it easy to target those particular sections of the survey app. So you can style the survey app just like you can style the Cireson portal. All right, well that's all we have for this, so we'll talk about the community. We have a survey app forum on our Cireson community, and we also have a feature request section where you can vote for already promoted feature requests and then also add your own for things you'd like to see in the survey app. And we'll be picking at least 1 to 2 of those feature requests for every version increment within the survey app. So whenever we release a new version, we'll actually be addressing some of those feature requests. That's primarily where we're going to get our new features from. So it's very community focused here, and we're going to continue down that road. So now we'll do some question and answers. So let me take a look here. One question is, can surveys be linked to an incident or service request to track technician satisfaction? So there we go. I believe I've already answered that question, and the answer is yes. Take a look at the advanced configuration guide. All right. Who has the ability in Portal to create survey templates? Right now, it's any analyst. So as long as you are a Portal analyst, with us a Service Manager analyst, you should be able to create survey templates. They're stored inside the Service Manager database as CIs, and that's why there's some special scoping during the installation that you have to set up so that an end user can actually create a survey result CI object, whereas out of the box they don't have that ability. So we scope down an advanced operator role just to the survey app functionality, just to the survey app CIs, so that they can actually do that. And then surveys seem to not display a drop-down box and take survey button properly from Internet Explorer. Yes, so that's accurate. And Chrome is working correctly. So yes, this is a bug. So IE 11, there is a few bugs still just because of the way it renders JavaScript and other things. We've actually already have a fix in place, and it's just waiting to be released in that hotfix that you should see next week. That should hopefully solve those problems. Will it be possible to create anonymous surveys? Not at this time. That doesn't mean it won't be in the future. So in the future, it's very possible that we'll move it out of the Service Manager database and into the Cireson database. And if the Cireson Portal database, if we do that, then we would have more creative control over what we allow. Right now, though, because of the CI requirements and because it's stored within Service Manager, it has to go through the Service Manager authentication process, and there's no real way to do anonymous access to create a CI without doing some sort of workflow or Portal API in the background. Basically, it would take some trickery, and it's a good bit of work, and we're thinking we'll probably wait until we move into the Cireson database. Is there any separate security to limit who has access to survey results? I only want the service desk managers to be able to see the results. Not today, but that's a great feature request to add in the Cireson community, so please do so and vote that up, and we'll focus on the ones that get the most attention there. If the user clicks the submit button but they wanted to add additional comments on that, is there a way it can be retrieved? So if they look at their completed results, as of today, they can see those, but they can't go back and edit them. That could be a feature request if that's something you find value in. One thing we're looking at doing is adding optional questions, because right now all questions are required. If it's in the survey, it's a required question, but we'll be adding optional questions in the future as well. So I think that's all the questions so far, plus we're at our time limit. So my big recommendation here is sign up for the Cireson community. It's community.cireson.com, and take a look at the survey forum, take a look at just the questions, the discussions in general, and then take a look at the feature requests that are existing and add your own. And if they pick up some steam, we're going to implement as many of them as possible within each feature release. So I appreciate everybody's time today, and we will talk to you all again soon. Thank you very much.